Have you ever heard about the bank robber who genuinely believed he was invisible? Well, you're about to. This is the wild, true story of how one man's spectacular failure led to a massive scientific discovery. Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The year is 1994. You've got movies like Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction in theaters, and one man is about to commit a crime so completely baffling it would actually make him famous. So the plan is pretty straightforward. Rob two banks. But here's the part that makes no sense. The robber decided to do it with absolutely no disguise on at all.
All right, so let's meet the man at the heart of this incredible story, MacArthur Wheeler. I mean, the sheer confidence is just mind-blowing. Wheeler didn't just forget a mask. He intentionally wore nothing to hide his face. He walks into two banks in the middle of the day, and at one point, he even stops to smile right at the security cameras. Yeah, as you can probably guess, this was not a difficult case for the police to crack. With his face all over the news from the security tapes, they found him and arrested him that very same night. But this is where the story gets really, really weird. When the police show Wheeler the crystal clear footage of him robbing the banks, he's not angry, he's not trying to deny it. He is genuinely, utterly shocked. He just can't believe what he's seeing. So why? Well, his explanation for all this leads us to the most memorable, and frankly, the most ridiculous part of this whole story, his alibi. In total disbelief, he looks at the detectives and mutters these now famous words, "But I wore the lemon juice." His thinking, as bizarre as it sounds, kind of went like this. He knew that lemon juice can be used as invisible ink, the kind he used as a kid. So he took this massive logical leap and figured that if he just rubbed lemon juice all over his face, he would be completely invisible to security cameras. Now, normally, a story like this would end right there. It would just be another weird headline. But instead, MacArthur Wheeler's lemon-scented crime spree became the unlikely inspiration for a huge scientific concept. The story was just so strange that it ended up catching the eye of two social psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger. And they weren't so interested in the crime itself, but in the mindset that could even lead to something like this. They were completely fascinated by this one central question that Wheeler's case brought up. How is it possible for a person to be so bad at something, yet be so blissfully unaware of it? This was the exact paradox they wanted to figure out. That gap between being absolutely 100% confident and at the same time being 100% catastrophically wrong. And all of their research led to a psychological concept that you've probably heard of, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Or you could just call it the science of not knowing what you don't know. So, what is it, officially? It's a cognitive bias. It basically says that people with the lowest ability or skill in a certain area are often the most likely to think they're really good at it. Their own incompetence makes them blind to just how incompetent they are. To put it as simply as possible, MacArthur Wheeler wasn't just a bad criminal. He lacked the basic knowledge to even realize that his lemon juice plan was a terrible, terrible idea. He literally didn't know enough to recognize his own ignorance. So, okay, a funny story from 1994. Why does any of this matter to us today? Well, because it reveals something pretty fundamental about how all of our minds can work sometimes. See, the Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just about bank robbers. It points to a challenge that every single one of us faces. The challenge of knowing ourselves and our abilities accurately. We can all have this blind spot. I mean, think about it. We're all the main character in our own movie, right? And because of that, it can be really easy to think we have everything figured out, even when, we're metaphorically rubbing lemon juice on our faces. And all of this leaves us with a really tough question. If the people who know the least are the most confident, how can any of us ever be sure we're not missing something crucial? The journey to figure out what you don't know, well, that's a lifelong process of being curious and really listening. It's something to think about.